Hey, hello everyone, my name is Chris and welcome back to another game review. Today I'm gonna be reviewing Max Payne, and as usual I'm quickly gonna go through the story of this game to tell you in short what this game is all about. Then I'm gonna share my own opinions and thoughts about this game, so in case you didn't play it, one big spoiler alert across the screen. And yeah, just click away from this video to avoid spoilers and come back after you play a game if you want to, guys. If you don't want to, you don't have to, it's totally fine. But if you really are interested in my opinions and thoughts about this game right now, then stay with me till the end of this video and let's get started. Alright guys, Max Payne is a retro third-person action shooter that was released in 2001, which was exactly 20 years ago. Game was developed by Remedy Entertainment and Rockstar Studios. Game was developed in Max FX engine, which is one of their own engines they've been working on since 1997. So the reason why I decided to replay this classic masterpiece that left a huge mark on gaming history is because I realized I didn't play Max Payne 3 and I really want to play it. But I also wanted to replay previous two games because I did play them as a kid. I was born in 1999 and I actually barely remember playing first two games, so that's the reason why I decided to replay first game and then I'll play second and third game as well. So that's it. Anyway, story of Max Payne puts you in the shoes of Detective Max Payne, which is the main protagonist you play with in all three games. And game starts off by showing his wife and daughter murdered by a bunch of junkies, and from that point on it's just all about vengeance and him trying to find person responsible for death of his family. But unfortunately on his mission to find that person, things get complicated and he ends up in middle of big crime operation and framed for a murder of his best friend that he did not commit. And he has to run from authorities, but he eventually ends up reaching this Punchinello crime boss who he thinks is responsible for murder of his family. But before agents burst into room and kill Punchinello, he tells Max that he's actually the one who just sent men after his family, but he's not the one who ordered the hit. There is some woman high up in the government who actually ordered the hit on his family, and they kill Punchinello. And then Max is captured by that woman. Her name is Nicole, but the reason why Nicole ordered a hit on Max's wife and daughter is because Max's wife found out about something that she was not supposed to. So Nicole was running some sort of illegal drug experiments on people in her lab, and Max's wife found out about that and wanted to make it public, and to prevent that from happening, Nicole ordered a hit on her and her daughter. After that, there are some other guys, I don't remember who they actually are, I forgot their names, but they actually also want to get rid of that Nicole woman. So they have common enemy and Max wants to take a vengeance on her, so he gladly takes that job, and in return they will stop the police from hunting Max. So he goes and kills that woman. Nicole takes his vengeance and he is released from being hunted by police. And in short, that's the entire story of this game. So it's just one action game about vengeance and a man who is ready to do anything to avenge his family, and that's it. In my opinion, this was a fun story for an action game. This is an action game, it's a third-person shooter, so I think it fits really nicely with the environment and the atmosphere and everything with the character. I really like the character and how the story was written. It was really enjoyable, and I'm really glad that I replayed it, and it was really fun. Alright, let's talk about gameplay, which is definitely the most important part about this game, which is actually what makes this game what it is. So I can totally understand why people consider this game such a masterpiece and a classic. It's definitely a classic. It's been released 20 years ago, and believe it or not, this game is still one hell of a fun 20 years later, and it has some crazy details that some modern third-person shooters don't have. For example, when you shoot your bullets in this game, and when they hit different surfaces, different bullet holes will be different depending by the caliber and the weapon you shot it from, and you can see bullet casings and magazines being dropped on the ground after Maxis reloads the weapon, and they stay on the ground forever through that entire level. And level design is just really clever. Enemies are weak but also very tough, so dying in this game is super easy. You can die extremely easy in this game. Enemies can one-shot you just as you can one-shot them, and there is no ragdoll or anything, so gameplay can be kinda clunky sometimes, and it feels weird. Sometimes it can be really frustrating. Avoiding damage sometimes is really hard, and you constantly have to loot rooms around the level to search for painkillers, ammunition, and all that kind of stuff that is present in all third-person shooters. So that's kind of a minus about this game. It has sometimes clunky gameplay. Sometimes it can get really frustrating, and if you don't quick save, you'll have to restart the entire level or from the last checkpoint, which are very rare. So I recommend you to save this game very often, because if you die at the end of a level and you didn't save, you'll have to replay the entire level. Now, what's the most interesting thing about this game is definitely slow motion. So this is probably the game that invented slow-mo bullet cams and shooting in slow motion. This is what this game is all about pretty much, and why people appreciate it so much, because this game brought slow motion in third-person shooter genre. It invented it somehow, so it's really cool. You can throw yourself anytime with one click of a button and just throw yourself on the ground in slow motion, and while you're slowly throwing yourself on the ground, you can shoot enemies in slow-mo, headshot them, just spray them with bullets depending by the weapon you have. It's so cool, it's so fun to do even 20 years later. You can also slow down time, and just it helps you to shoot your enemies easier and focus on targets, because sometimes it's really hard when there is a lot of enemies shooting at you with automatic weapons. You just have to slow down time to kill them all. And what I love also about this game is how realistic it is. So shotguns, for example, are extremely realistic in this game. It's not like you shoot confetti in front of you. You can actually see those pellets flying and hitting your enemies, and they actually have some range, just like shotguns do in real life. Also, some crazy details that I've noticed is like when you shoot these water coolers, like again, if you shoot them only once, they will just leak water from one bullet hole. But if you use dual Berettas, for example, and just shoot them multiple times, there is going to be multiple bullet holes leaking water. Or if you even get some distance and shoot it with a shotgun, you can actually see where those pellets hit in that water tank, and it's gonna be leaking water. So again, the game is really, it really put the focus on different caliber and weapons, and you can actually see them in the game. And all this was done 20 years ago, which is just crazy. Game also has an interactive environment. You can interact, for example, with these water coolers, or sometimes you'll see a radio or a TV and you can interact with it, and then the game will tell you a story through the graphic novel. So most of the game's story is told through the graphic novel. It's not like there is a lot of cutscenes. There is cutscenes in this game, but mostly game story is told through the graphic novel. And I think that's actually pretty cool. It's really old school style, and it gives all that old school vibes to this game. It's really unique and interesting, like to see this 20 years later. It's so much fun. It's still really fun like it was 20 years ago, and I really like that. Combat, like I said, is sometimes clunky, but also if you go through these levels a few times, and if you actually learn them, you can go through these levels pretty smoothly, like a badass, just shooting everyone on sight, insta-killing them, headshotting them, and you just feel like absolute god and a badass who is seeking for vengeance and killing all these criminals. It almost feels like a Punisher game for a moment, sometimes, honestly. it's really cool, and I really loved the gameplay of this game, and I really love how game is actually challenging. There are some levels where you will just die over and over and over again, even though you know what's gonna happen. You're still gonna make same mistakes until you figure out what you have to do. And believe it or not, but you actually have to take cover and hide behind the corners when you're going to shoot your enemies, and you have to time your slow-mo dodges or reloads or whatever, because again, you can die so easily in this game, and you kind of have to have a little bit of a tactic. Even though it's an old school action third-person shooter, there is a little bit of tactics sometimes where you have to think how you're gonna take out your enemies, and that's really what I loved about this game. Sometimes you will run into these enemies that will take a lot of bullets to kill, so those are basically boss fights. There is no health bar or anything like there is in some modern third-person shooters. That was not a thing 20 years ago, and those boss fights seem like normal shootouts with other NPCs, but it's much harder to kill them. They take much more shots to die, and it's also done in quite unique and interesting way. Game that way is trying to tell you that there is some important bad guy that you need to kill by letting you shoot him way more times than usual enemies to kill him. So I liked really that design as well. Also, game has a little tutorial which lasts about 2 minutes that you can play, and game detailedly explains you all the controls and everything and how to play this game. And I think this tutorial was actually a fun little thing to play, and in literally 2 minutes you learn how to play this game. At least that's what you think until you actually start playing it and then realize how hard can it get sometimes. So it has old school cool designed levels and gameplay combined with some really old school and cool action, and there is that slow-mo. There are even bullet cams when you shoot sniper rifle in this game. Like 20 years ago this game had freaking bullet cams. Like, holy shit, that's really cool. This game is really a masterpiece, and it definitely deserves all the love that it gets, definitely. So I'm not gonna talk about graphics. I think that's kind of pointless to talk about for a 20-year-old game. Anyone can play this game pretty much with modern PCs. No matter what your PC have, I think you can run this game on all ultra maxed out settings without any problems, because game is just simply 20 years old and there is no PC that cannot run this game, I think. So it's kind of pointless for me to talk about graphics or whatever, but honestly, for a 20-year-old game, this doesn't look bad at all. I definitely seen games that are same age and much worse looking than this. So yeah, that's it for this game review, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then go ahead and leave a like, share, comment, or subscribe if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's totally fine. You can also join my Chris Facebook group. I post all kind of stuff over there. Link is down below in the description. So yeah, again, join if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And yeah, I'll definitely see you in Max Payne 2 and then Max Payne 3 after that. I'll definitely play both sequels. And yeah, thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support and everything you've done for me and my channel so far. I love you guys, and I'll definitely see you in the next videos. Chris out.